I don't know who had the idea of mixing gambling mechanics, card games, and that classic local multiplayer chaos into a single game, but whoever did, I respect them. Gamble with Your Friends is exactly what the name suggests. A game that will test your luck, your strategy, and honestly, your friendships. And if you're playing thinking it's just another casual party game, I need to stop you right here because there's a lot happening under the hood that most people don't notice. So today I'm bringing 10 advanced tips that will completely change the way you play. I'm Matthew and the video starts now. If there's one thing I had to understand about Gamble with Your Friends before anything else, it's this. The shared bank account isn't just a mechanic. It's the soul of the entire game. You and up to 5 other people are literally living and dying by the same wallet, running together toward the loan shark's daily quota. Treating this money as if it belongs to everyone, because it actually does, changes the way you think about every bet you make. This is exactly why designating one player as the group's treasurer completely changes the game. This person isn't there to kill the fun, they are there to keep the run alive. While everyone else is eyeing the roulette or any other dubious game on that floor, the treasurer keeps an eye on the total balance at all times. When the team is swimming in money, they give the green light for higher bets. When the debt limit starts to approach, they pull everyone back. And honestly, this role matters more than most people realize, until it's too late. The game itself explicitly warns that a single wrong all-in can end the entire group's run. An impulsive player going all or nothing on a desperate bet doesn't just hurt them, it erases everyone's progress too. Having a dedicated person monitoring these numbers prevents exactly that "wait, who spent all our money" moment that destroys friendships faster than any horror game. The treasurer doesn't need to be the best gambler in the group, they just need to be the most disciplined. Give this role to whoever has the steadiest nerves and can say no, not yet, when everyone is excited and feeling lucky. That calm voice in the middle of the chaos, that's the difference between a clean run and a game over screen that leaves everyone in absolute silence in the voice chat. 5 minutes. That's all you have inside the casino before time runs out. And you know what? My friends and I used to do in those 5 minutes, we'd all stay together, looking at the same game, rooting for the same results, while half the floor goes completely unexplored. It seems harmless, but this lack of organization is silently one of the biggest reasons why runs die early. The turning point is simple. Split the group. 2 players go out exploring the entire floor in search of sketchy items, those items tucked away in corners that most people ignore completely. Meanwhile, the other 2 stay at the quick return games, like slots, keeping the cash flow moving. This division of labor sounds basic on paper, but in practice, it's what separates an amateur group from a team that knows what it's doing. Sketchy items aren't just extra bonuses. They can completely change the trajectory of a run. And the problem is, if no one goes after them specifically, time flies and you leave the floor without having taken advantage of half of what was available. 5 minutes pass absurdly fast when you're betting and celebrating. Having 2 players with the exclusive mission of sweeping the map ensures no opportunity is left behind. So before entering the next floor, agree on the roles in advance. Don't leave it to decide in the moment, because in the moment, everyone will want to bet and no one will want to walk around the casino. Define who explores and who bets before the door opens. This is one of those strategies that seems small, but in practice is the kind of thing only the most organized groups actually execute correctly. There is a mistake almost every group makes in the Gamble with Your Friends black market: spending sketchy items on the first games they see without a second thought. A single bet bonus seems tempting at the time, but you're trading a one-time advantage for something that could completely change your odds on the harder floors. And by the time you realize the mistake, it's already too late to fix. The items that truly make a difference are the ones that manipulate the odds directly. We're talking about items that guarantee a minimum number on dice, reroll bad results, or mess with roulette probabilities before you even bet. With over 15 different sketchy items in the game, many of them exist for exactly this purpose, and they're worth much more than any flat cash bonus you'd use once and never think about again. The logic is simple. A single bet bonus solves an immediate problem. An item that manipulates dice or rerolls a bad result solves several problems throughout the entire run. And the further you progress through the floors, the harder the games get, and the more essential these advantages become. Saving powerful items for the right moments isn't being conservative. It's playing smart. This is one of those skills that divides casual players from those who truly understand the game. Anyone can go into a slot and press the button, but knowing when to use an odds manipulation item, in which game and at what point in the run, that's another level. If your group learns to save the best sketchy items for the right situations, you'll notice a huge difference in the consistency of your runs. If there's one golden rule about the most powerful sketchy items, it's this: don't waste them. It sounds obvious saying it like that, but you'd be surprised how many groups use a luck manipulation item on a small bet just because the moment felt right. And then, when the coordinated all-in arrives, that moment where the entire run depends on a single bet, the inventory is already empty. Strong items exist to protect high-value bets, not to guarantee victories in games the group would have won anyway. Saving an item that re-rolls a bad die or manipulates probability for the all-in moment isn't hesitation, it's preparation. That item used in the right place can be the difference between doubling the entire bankroll or seeing the run end in a cringy silence in the voice chat. And speaking of the coordinated all-in, at the end of each session's timer, this move stops being optional and becomes a strategic necessity. When the quota is far off and time is running out, there's no room for timid bets. The group needs to gather, look at the balance, define who will bet, how much they will bet, and then, and only then, activate the powerful item to ensure that bet doesn't fail. Runs that seemed lost turn around with exactly this kind of collective decision. So the next time a teammate wants to use a strong item on some random round of slots without pressure, hold them back. Not because you're being mean, but because you're thinking 2 steps ahead. The best groups in Gamble with Your Friends aren't the ones who bet the most. They're the ones who know exactly when to put everything on the table and what to protect that bet with. Gamble with Your Friends features proximity chat. And if your group isn't using it actively, you're playing with one of the game's biggest advantages completely turned off. I'm not talking about chatting aimlessly while betting. I'm talking about surgical communication at the right time with the right information. This is the kind of detail that seems small until you see the difference it makes in practice. Machine 3 is hot needs to become a natural phrase in the group's vocabulary. When someone exploring the floor notices that a roulette is biased or that a specific machine is delivering above normal results, that information is gold, but only if it reaches the bettors quickly. With a 5-minute session, every second you delay communicating a discovery is a second the group loses in taking advantage of that edge. The same goes for items found during exploration. If a player finds a powerful, sketchy item in a corner of the floor, the whole group needs to know immediately to decide together whether to use it now or save it for the final all-in. Without communication, this kind of decision is left in the hands of just one player. And then you lose that collective vision, which is exactly what makes organized groups stand out. Set up a simple vocabulary before you start. Hot for a good machine, cold for a bad machine, item when you find something on the map, and all in when the timer is running out. The more direct and fast the call out, the less time the group wastes processing information, and the faster everyone acts. Communication in co-op games has always been important, but in Gamble with Your Friends, with limited time and shared money, it is literally what separates a well-executed run from general chaos. I'll be honest, the cosmetics are genuinely tempting. A new hat, different clothes, a more stylish look while you lose money to the loan shark. It seems like a good idea at the time. But there's a reason why the game itself makes a point of mocking those who fall into this trap with the phrase, is it optimal? No. Is it stylish? Absolutely. The game knows you're going to want it, and it's waiting for you to mess up. Tickets are a limited resource, and every ticket spent on a cosmetic before hitting the daily quota is a resource that could have been used strategically in the run. It might seem like it's just a visual item that doesn't affect anything in the game itself, and technically you're right, but the problem isn't the cosmetic itself, it's the habit it represents. Groups that normalize spending resources before reaching the primary goal are the same groups that make impulsive decisions at all-in time. The rule is simple and has no exceptions. Quota met first, cosmetics later. If the loan shark has been paid and there are still tickets left over, then by all means, dress up, look stylish, celebrate the run. But as long as the day's goal hasn't been met, any ticket spent on appearance is money thrown away in a situation where every resource can be decisive. And if someone in the group breaks this rule, the entire group feels the effect. This is one of the most classic rookie mistakes in Gamble with Your Friends. Not because it's a huge isolated error, but because it reveals a mindset that will show up in other run decisions as well. Players who prioritize aesthetics over the goal tend to be the same ones who make impulsive bets and use powerful items at the wrong time. So when someone opens the cosmetic menu before the quota is met, close the menu together with love, but close it. Think of the shared bankroll as a real investment fund, and no serious fund manager puts more than half the capital in the hands of a single person. It doesn't matter how much you trust your friend or how much they are in the zone at that moment. Concentrating 50% or more of the group's balance on a single player is a time bomb waiting to explode at the worst possible moment. The solution is to define clear rules before entering the casino, not during. Agree on a fixed number. If the total balance drops below a certain value, everyone stops immediately, leaves the games, and uses what's left to repurchase cheap items and reorganize the strategy. This kind of rule seems unnecessary when the run is going well, which is exactly why it needs to be agreed upon beforehand, when everyone is still thinking clearly and without adrenaline in their blood. A friend's bad all-in is one of the fastest and most frustrating ways to lose an entire run. And what makes it even harder is that it usually happens with good intentions. Someone seeing an opportunity, thinking they're going to turn the game around, betting high without telling anyone. When the group distributes money evenly and establishes a minimum safety limit, you take that possibility out of the equation before it becomes a real problem. This level of financial organization within the game is what truly differentiates groups that complete runs consistently from those that always get close, but never quite make it. It's not about distrusting your friends. It's about creating a structure that protects the group even from its own members' impulses. Because in the heat of the moment, with the timer counting down and the quota far off, everyone is tempted to do something stupid. The rule exists precisely to curb that temptation before it turns into a collective game over. Gamble with Your Friends features 17 different games, and each run reorganizes which ones appear on your floor. At first glance, it looks like pure luck, but that's not quite the case. Several of these games have visual tells, noticeable cycles, and RNG patterns that you start to identify after a few hours of play. And the group that learns to read these signs before others has a massive advantage that doesn't show up in any tutorial. In the first few minutes of each session, when the timer is still generous and there's room to breathe, prioritize the games where the house edge is controllable, like blackjack, where applying basic strategy already significantly reduces the casino's margin against you. These are the games where skill and decision-making actually matter, where you aren't simply rooting for the right number to appear. This is where the group's knowledge translates directly into money in the account. Now, when the timer is low and the pressure is high, that is exactly when you need to avoid games of pure luck. It seems counterintuitive. The adrenaline screams for you to bet everything on a quick result, but games with no strategic influence at the end of a run are traps disguised as opportunities. You don't have time to absorb a loss and recover. Every bet in the final minutes needs to be calculated, not desperate. So get into the habit of studying the games between runs, not during. Talk about what each game delivered, identify which ones had repetitive behaviors, and mentally mark the ones that offer more control. With 17 games in the pool, you can't master them all at once, but you can build a clear hierarchy of which to play when and which to avoid in specific situations. This accumulated knowledge is the kind of advantage that doesn't show up on the scoreboard, but appears every time the group completes a run that seemed lost. One of the things that most separates organized groups from casual ones is understanding that not every floor calls for the same approach. The early floors aren't the place to take high risks. They are the place to build the foundation that will sustain the group later on. Safe farming, buying items, accumulating resources without drama. It sounds conservative, but it's exactly this calm pace in the initial floors that makes the group strong when the real pressure appears. On floors 3 and 4, the game changes its face completely. Quotas are higher, games get more intense, and this is where the division of roles needs to be sharp. One player takes on the role of tank, the one who goes for higher risk bets, trying to extract the most from the floor's most advantageous games. Meanwhile, the rest of the group actively protects the bankroll and distributes support items strategically to cover that player's risky bets. This structure exists because moving up a floor isn't just narrative progression. It's access to games with better mechanics, more controllable odds, and proportionally higher rewards. But to reach those floors in a condition to take advantage of all that, you need to have arrived there with money, items, and the entire group still alive in the run. Burning resources on the early floors trying to speed up the process is trading the long term for the short term in the worst way possible. Define these roles before entering, not in the middle of the chaos. Who is the tank on the final floors? Who monitors the bankroll? Who distributes the support items? Groups that enter each floor with this structure already in mind play with a completely different clarity than those who decide everything on the fly. And when Floor 4 appears with good games and the bankroll is healthy, you'll understand exactly why playing with patience on the initial floors wasn't weakness. It was strategy. Most groups enter the casino and go straight to the tables, and stay there for the entire run. It's a natural instinct, it makes sense on the surface, but Gamble with Your Friends was built with an entire layer of content that only appears to those who decide to get up and explore. The game not only allows this, but actively encourages it. Sitting in a chair, spinning a slot while the entire floor is full of secrets is leaving money and advantage on the table, literally. Look for hidden NPCs, interactive objects in corners, and anything that looks out of place in the floor's visual pattern. The game has a clear philosophy of cheating allowed, and that's not just flavor text, it's a design guideline that opens space for positioning exploits, non-obvious interactions, and shortcuts that groups who only play by the rules will never discover. Each floor can hold something that completely changes the dynamic of the session, and you'll never know if you don't go looking. This connects directly with the division of roles that organized runs already practice. While two players keep the betting flow going at the tables, the other two need to be in constant motion across the map, sniffing out every possible interaction. It's not a waste of time, it's an investment. A single interactive object or NPC found at the right moment can deliver an item, an advantage, or information that no standard bet would provide. The only play at the tables mentality is the mentality of someone still learning the game. The groups that truly understand Gamble with Your Friends treat the casino as a living environment, full of layers where exploration is as much a part of the strategy as any bet. So the next time the floor opens, don't let everyone run to the nearest game. Send someone to explore, because what's hidden in that casino might be exactly what was missing for the run to finally succeed.